my friend? Welcome to Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about, religion and politics. That's what I do. I'm Charlie Simons, and Greg Burt is on the show today from the California Family Council. Man, when I started the show about 2.5 years, over 2.5 years now, in fact, started doing this. Greg was on every week, and then he got busy and I got busy, and we haven't been together on the show now for quite a while. And I realized, well, that's no good. Got to get Greg Burt back on because I love the work they do at the California Family Council. Have you seen it? Let me show it to you right here. Here we go. Advancing God's design for life, family, and liberty. Who does that? Biblically faithful, civically responsible, culturally impactful. It's all nonprofit, so they go off our donations and they do events where they raise money and so on. You can join the list, stay updated, and here's what I love most about what they do. They inform and educate we Californians on public policy issues. In other words, they tell us about stuff that the government is trying to push through without us knowing about it. That's when I really got the California Family Council on my radar when I was actually on the radio. During the COVID shutdown, they waived their own 30-day print rule. The legislature has, of course, they made their own rule. We didn't get to vote on it. And if they make their own rule, they can decide they want to suspend it. And that's what they did. So, wicked demons like Scott Wiener, the senator from San Francisco, Buffy Wicks, author of AB 2223, allegedly. I don't think she really writes anything. I don't think she's smart enough. And people like that. What was the other one? Dan. Oh, good heavens, this guy. Richard Pan. Oh, my goodness. That guy's wicked. And they were putting through this legislation which were eroding parental rights. And that's when we were at school board meetings going, what are you teaching our children? Because of the COVID shutdown, we parents started seeing what was being presented to children through their online classrooms that were going on, their little Venmo classrooms, because, it was too dangerous to have children in schools. Children, by the way, who are not really susceptible to the COVID virus. It was insane what was going on. And it was nothing but a money grab. And now stuff's starting to come out, man, about wasteful spending and what was going on and what happened to all that money that came from the feds. Where did that go? So in the meantime, they waived their own 30-day print rule. We used to know what they were trying to propose and trying to push through as bills and turn them into law. This party has been dominated by the left, by Democrats for a long time now. They have a super majority. So they were pushing these things through. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know about them. And even if we did show up and try and protest against it because we found out about it, like AB 2223, it was already well on its way. It'd gone through all these committees and passed. They'd throw in their little input. Oh, you want to be able to actually murder a child up to 28 days after birth because it doesn't matter. Push it through. That was part of AB 2223. And we were out here going, what's going on? How are these things happening? What's getting passed? What did Newsom just sign into law? Because remember, a governor cannot make law. Cannot make law. So during the COVID shutdown, when they had the COVID mandates, the governor mandates to wear a mask and to keep churches closed while you're keeping casinos and pot dispensaries open. Those were deemed essential. Little mom and pop stores had to close because they weren't essential. But a big super spreader like Walmart, that was essential. It was insane what was happening. And we are blindsided And if we're watching TV, we're in fear because all the news channels are putting up in big red graphs about all the COVID deaths. Of course, most of them were in elderly folks, senior care centers, nursing homes, or just flat out made up. People die from the flu every year. Well, in 2020 and 21, 22, 23, there were 2 flu viruses going around. One, the actual one that seems to just have become part of life every year. Here comes the new flu. What's this one called? I don't know. We'll give it some name that's going to offend somebody and make people all scared. And the other one was created in a lab. So we had 2 going around. But the COVID one, children were not susceptible. They kind of missed the boat on that one when they were designing it. They wanted to take out the older folk, the older generation. You know, the Republicans, the ones who have lived their lives and built businesses, bought homes, realized government needs to stay out of our lives, not get more involved. So AB 2223 and other ones like that were getting pushed through without us being able to do anything to stop it or say anything. And even if we did make it to a committee member or a committee meeting or anything talking about this one bill that was being proposed, we were censored, we were shut down, we were shut up, like guys like Richard Pan, who were running a lot of these, gaveling us out, turning off the microphone, turning off the lights. I'll never forget that was all going on. I'll never forget all that. And then the light at the end of the tunnel was the California Family Council, because they're right there. They're in downtown Sacramento. They know these bills that they're trying to push through on us. So I start following them. They're doing what? And then I'm getting the information out. I'm on the radio, I'm telling, my 2 listeners, everything that's going on. They're telling others. And we started having these protests going on at the Capitol building. That's when I became friends with Greg Burt, who's my guest today on Do Not Talk. Here's one of the things that they're talking about right now and trying to get the word out that's going on, that they're, again, trying to push through without any kind of pushback. And it's Proposition 3. Watch this, put together by the California Family Council.
Why are they so interested in repealing language from the Constitution that has been sitting there for the last 16 years? Well, sadly, there's a very good reason, and it is because Proposition 3 goes far beyond just repealing Proposition 8.
What Proposition 3 is going to do is cement that fundamental child loss in California's Constitution. Now, that is a problem. It's a problem because we've spent a lot of time over the last decade or so in this country playing around with the definition of marriage.
The language in Proposition 3, by being so general, by having such loose language, leaves room for wide interpretation and loopholes. Okay, there's really 3 big concerns, which you have child marriages and incest, polygamy, and ultimately the health of the child without a mother and a father in the household.
And then we started to play around with the definition and say, well, maybe we don't necessarily need to have it be a man and a woman. Maybe it can be 2 men or 2 women. That has wreaked havoc on the life of children who are growing up intentionally motherless or fatherless.
Right.
And now we're toying with, and a couple different municipalities in California have already done this, normalized polygamous relationships.
Oh, wow.
That is dangerous for children. Because anytime you have an unrelated adult sharing living spaces with the child, rates of abuse and neglect increase in 100% of cases, whether it is a stepmother, a cohabiting girlfriend, whether it is a stepfather or cohabiting mother's boyfriend. That man is statistically the most likely to abuse and neglect the child.
And ultimately, when you look at Proposition 3, it's nothing other than a shade structure that's attempting to redefine the family and open up the door for more debauchery and more depravity within the home. And Proposition 3 is anti-family and it's anti-kid. And we have to make a bold statement and a bold stand in this moment to bring truth on what Proposition 3 will do to families in California.
If you truly believe in justice, especially for the least of these, you don't give 1 inch on the topic of marriage. You might lose friends. Welcome to Christianity.
That's called bringing it. Jesus said that would happen. Greg Burt from the California Family Council, back on Do Not Talk. Hit it!
Yep, here he comes. Riding his trusted steed through the Sierra foothills as he brings you the news. He calls himself
Charlie!
What you doing, Charlie?
Sorry, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. There you are. Look how cute you are. Yeah!
Hey, Charlie. What's with the dark glasses?
And now, here he is, a man of God, living in a world of Disney.
Ow! Charlie!
Charlie Simons.
Charlie bit me.
Brought to you, my friends, by mypillow.com/Lee. My middle name, Lee. Lee can get you up to 75% off My Pillow products now at his online store. And his, when I say that, is talking about Mike Lindell, a true American patriot who put his own fortune on the line to continue pushing the fight against election fraud, voter fraud, and championing election integrity. Because of that, the big box stores have pulled all of his products off the shelves. The last one was Walmart. Walmart, you're fired. I have nothing to do with you anymore. I don't set foot in your creepy stores. I don't go into Target. I'll never go there again after what they did with their rumored children wear. CVS, another one. Don't need them. I get my stuff online. freedomswitchusa.com/Lee and mypillow.com/Lee. mypillow.com/LEE. My middle name can get you up to 75% off some products. They're all American made. Mike Lindell, support him, help him, and you'll be supporting and helping this show at the same time. Can I ask you to please at least check out, they have over 100 products now on their online store. American made. Please check them out. For me, you'll be doing me a favor and buy something from them. Use my middle name as a promo code, mypillow.com/LEE. Ladies and gentlemen, cut the music for your dining and dancing pleasure. Hey, happy early birthday, Greg Burt. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, how are you?
I'm borderline amazing. Yeah, happy early birthday. That's coming up this week, right?
Is it coming up? It's the 17th, so I think that's next week. I
Oh,
think
it
it's
is
Constitution Day, so look at that.
There you go, right on. I love what you do at the California Family Council. You're just a group of fighters down there you're in the belly of the beast. You're right there in the middle of it, Sacramento, at the Capitol. You're like, your office is like right across the street from the Capitol building, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We've for the first 5 years working for the California Family Council, it was me and my rolling suitcase wandering around the halls of the legislature. But then we finally got an office, so it's exciting to be right across the street from the Capitol and doing lots of reporting, trying to get the word out what the Capitol is doing. And a lot of these stories, are not the bias that is shown mostly in the press is what they do not cover, right? That's
what I've always said.
They
lie
don't want to talk about.
Their biggest lie is by omission. They just don't even tell you what's going on. And we
Absolutely.
saw that with what you and I were just, what I was just discussing about them forcing these bills through and people not even knowing what was coming. The media used to rely on these press releases, and they're still lazy that way. Media people are predominantly very lazy. I know. I've been in the media my entire adult life, and they'll get a press release and they'll just like put it on there as is. They'll reword it a little bit and act like it's their story. But there were no press releases. There were no 30-day print notices on the website to where you could even read what was in the bill. And they were forcing these things through one after another for almost 2 years during that shutdown. That went much longer.
They're still doing stuff like that. You should have seen, like, the legislature the session is over, so they finished at the end of August. But the last night, it was chaos. They shut down debate. They said the Republicans they had the deadline. They had all these bills to get passed by midnight because that was the deadline, and they made them all pile up. All the significant bills were piling up, and they had to get them through. And the Republicans wanted to have a debate, like a normal legislature. They wanted to talk about the bills going through,
Right.
and they said this is taking too long. So first, they have this rule where they can simply vote to shut off debate. So after each legislator gets like 5 minutes to say something, and they said, okay, only one person gets to speak. But then they go, you know what? Okay, this is taking too long. You guys get 30 seconds, right? Only 30 seconds. And then they shut it off after. And then that was still annoying because Assemblyman Bill Asaley was talking a lot and objecting.
I love that
And
guy. I love
and
that
then
guy.
they said they had this new rule I had never heard of before. They said, I can't remember what the name of the word was, but you are using the rules to delay debate. And so we are shutting you off. We're no longer going to recognize you speaking. And they shut him down. So he couldn't talk anymore. And then and then he's slamming his desk up and down, making noise. Have you seen any of this?
No.
Okay, well, maybe the next show, I got it all on video. It's on our YouTube channel. And spliced.
Brother,
it was
I
like
got
an hour of chaos, and it was just like unbelievable. So it's another story I got to cover. It's in our last newsletter, but I really need to pare it down so you see the worst of what happens in 30 minutes. But anyway.
This is out of control, but this is what happens when you have one party dominating everything and making the rules and breaking their own rules.
Right.
This is what happens. This is what happens, my friend. This is why you need to get registered to vote. A third of the population of California claims to be Christian, yet only about 40% are even registered to vote. Unthinkable. How does that happen? Have you encountered that kind of pushback and resistance from our own followers of Christ Jesus?
We have grown very lazy, right? We don't realize that our liberty has been purchased by the sacrifice and blood of our ancestors, and how much I was just studying this last night, what the Pilgrims did when they came across from a foreign land and died. And what were they doing? They were trying to establish a country where God and liberty and morality and God and the Bible were the foundation of our government, right? And that extended our own liberty here, where we have religious freedom still, but we're starting to lose it because no one's standing up for it. We will lose all these liberties that we have that are established if we don't, generation after generation, make sure that we are defending it, and we are electing members of the legislature who are defending it. And there was this great quote from a former president. He says, if you find your government leaders lazy and corrupt and not doing their job, it's only because we have grown passive in allowing our leaders to act like this. Ultimately, it's we the people. Even with all the corruption in elections, still we the people can take it all back if we just all feel the responsibility to do so.
We absolutely could in one election, especially with the kind of numbers I just talked about. If Christians just took their civic duty seriously,
that's right,
and actually voted, we could turn this state around in one election.
Well,
one big election, presidential election.
It's going to take a lot of educating your churches to feel responsibility for their communities and getting involved. Not because sometimes we don't have good candidates, so that means you are going to have to run for office. We should be encouraging our congregations to run for office, right? Because sometimes, you look at the candidates and he goes, I don't like any of these people. Okay. So are you training candidates? Are you recruiting candidates? Are you supporting the good ones? I mean, honestly, democracy in our republic, our representative republic, takes a lot of work. I know we'd love to have a benevolent leader who we could just trust and put our full faith in, and we can go back to raising our kids and not having to worry about how the government's run. Here's the reality of it. That isn't reality. You can never get a good government by simply giving up, stop paying attention, and just trusting our leaders to guide and direct us.
Can I put it more succinctly? I think
Yes, please do.
you know who gets the government they want? The people who show up.
Right.
California has the government that they want because we've not been showing up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this Prop 3. What the heck is that?
Well, this is 10 years ago. What was it? No, longer than that.
This is on the ballot for November, right?
Right, but it started in 2000. This happened in 2008. There was the people of California noticed that the courts were taking a word called marriage and starting to make it mean something. Instead of there's always been this push to change marriage, which has always been the union of one man and one woman for the formation of families, right?
Right.
The government got involved in order to encourage something that was good for society, right? It was to encourage good behavior. And no one ever disputed what a marriage was.
No.
And they knew they couldn't persuade the public very easily to vote for a bill to make marriage between two same-sex couples. So the judges say, hey, here's what we'll do. We'll simply make the word mean something else that it's never meant before, right? We'll change the meaning of the word, and we won't have to change the law. That was the strategy, and it worked. And judges started declaring that the Constitution had always meant for marriage to be for any two same-sex couples, right? They didn't have to change the law at all. The judges would do it. So when that happened, people got together and said, you know what? We are going to clearly define what marriage is in our state constitution. And that's what they did. They did it twice. First, they did it as a statute. In statute, through our amendment, our proposition, we can gather signatures. If we can't trust the legislature to do something right, we can gather signatures and put to a proposition right on the ballot, and the people can vote for themselves for a law. And they did that first for a statute, and then the courts said it was illegal, right? And so, they said it was illegal because they said the state constitution doesn't allow it. So you know what? Okay, we'll change the state constitution. And that's what they did with Prop 8. The people said the highest law of the land is going to define marriage as between one man and one woman.
And this is going back to 2008.
2008.
And it passed by an overwhelming majority.
Right. That was back when Obama was in support of one man, one
traditional
woman
marriage. Yeah, allegedly he was. Yes.
And so he won the same year. So it was so the church was engaged in a way they hadn't been in a very long time, right? And it was Catholics and Protestants and even the Mormons were fully engaged, right?
Yeah.
And so it took a ton of money. I mean, like millions of dollars they invested, right? And they communicated their and they won, right? Now, you know what happened. The Supreme Court got involved, and they finally discovered in the Constitution a right to same-sex marriage that had never existed from the founding of the country, right? So the law in California, the definition died, and we had this rogue governor who started marrying people even though it was against the law.
He's talking about Gavin Newsom. That's when he was mayor of San Francisco.
That's right. Breaking the law and just going rogue.
And your marriage was only recognized within the city limits of San Francisco because that's the only jurisdiction he had power over. It was hilarious. It was nothing but a publicity stunt.
Right. And
but it worked.
So, but in 2015, the Supreme Court overturned our Prop 8 and it forced the redefinition of marriage on every state, right? And you had to now if you're going to give out licenses of marriage, you have to give it out to same-sex couples as well as opposite-sex couples, right? So that was the new definition. It just expanded it a little, right? And so in our Constitution, that language is still there. So this year, on our ballot, our legislature passed a resolution. There's two ways a ballot initiative can be put on the ballot for people to vote on. It's either by collecting enough signatures by the people, or the legislature can do it themselves. And that's what happened this time. The legislature put Prop 3 on the ballot to change our state constitution, and the only people can approve that is the people, right? And so, and here's what they've done. So they've removed the initiative, Prop 3, removes the language, but it replaces it with something else. Something else. It doesn't just remove it. It's replacing it with a unbelievably expansive, no definition version of marriage. And it simply says the right to marry is a fundamental right. And no definitions. So
Well, of course not.
So what does that mean? That means polygamous.
Whatever you want it to mean.
It means whatever you want. So right now it's illegal for a man to have more than one wife, or a woman to have more than one husband. That's the rule. It's just one. But if you put marriage as a fundamental right in the Constitution, that's now the highest law of the land. All the other laws that regulate marriage, meaning you can't marry your sister, a father can't marry her daughter.
You can't marry your Siamese cat.
Right. You can't marry a child. Well, here in California, there is not real strong laws against marrying a child. A judge has to approve it, though. But there would be no whole. It would be anybody can now go and challenge the marriage regulations, looking at the Constitution, who will say marriage is now a fundamental right. You cannot deny me or say that my marriage, how I define it, is not wrong. There's no limiting principle. So that is what we're all going to be voting on this coming November. And I don't know if people realize this, but there are already cities that are trying to recognize other forms of families that are very strange. Like in Berkeley and Oakland, they just gave official recognition to polyamorous families. Do you know what a polyamorous family is?
Sounds like a speech impediment.
No, it is a unlimited number of men and women in a sexual relationship with each other, and there's tons of kids, right? And
so it's like a commune, an orgy commune.
Yes, and the city has Berkeley and Oakland has now given them official recognition and said that no one can discriminate against their particular form of family, right? So here it comes, folks. If you don't want to define marriage, then marriage is becoming a meaningless. There are no, I mean, just put out your imagination of what people will come up with. And here it comes. And sadly, no one is really talking about it. I mean, the California Family Council and one other organization, the American Council, are the two organizations that put together the ballot, opposition ballot language. So when you get your ballot, you're going to see arguments for Prop 3 and arguments against Prop 3. So we put together the arguments against Prop 3. So we're starting to get all kinds of interviews. My boss just did an interview with the San Francisco Chronicle with their editorial board. And he also did an interview with the LA Times editorial board, talking about this issue, trying to get them to tell the truth about what this amendment really does. And so we'll see how those turn out, whether they'll actually tell the truth.
Which demon in that Democrat cult wrote this bill? Do you know?
It
Or what-
was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Assembly Member Lowe,
Where's Lowe out of?
San Jose.
Okay.
He's like the counterpart counterpart to Senator Weiner in the Senate.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So we got San Francisco and the San Francisco South Bay represented. Fantastic. And how are they? What have they called it? Because they always give it some kind of cutesy little wonderful. How could I possibly be against that kind of name? When it's on the ballot in November, what's it going to be?
I don't have it in front of me.
Like
It'd probably be like marriage
say-
equality or, something to that effect.
Yeah, that's what they do.
So I think a lot of people think, well, it's the ship has sailed, and what are you going to do now? And I don't know, folks. I don't think we realize. I think we treat marriage way too lightly. Like when a country just abandons one of the most essential building blocks of any society, for raising children. I mean, our future is dependent on our ability to raise the next generation.
Well,
Can we do that without marriage?
Love is love. Even if it's for a 9-year-old child, love is love. I should be able to marry that person, that thing.
But
that
no,
animal.
God has set up these standards for us for our flourishing, and we abandon them to our own peril.
The worst part is when we vote these things and we vote for them. Well, that sounds good, and we don't even know, and because groups either they don't know about you, don't follow you, or they just vote with whatever sounds good or makes them feel good,
Right.
and then these things go into law. And even if we had the Reverend Franklin Graham himself become governor of the state of California, he couldn't reverse these things. He couldn't turn them around. There wouldn't be enough time. There'd be such a battle and such a fight. So we got to stop these things now. But like you said, it's almost to the point of being overwhelming where we're like, well, at this point, cat's out of the bag. They've won on so many different fronts. I'm just, biding my time until I can retire and move out of this state.
Well, it's going to follow you wherever you go. So
Exactly.
there's nowhere to escape.
Thank you for saying that. As California goes, so goes the rest of the nation. And we're seeing it. Arizona,
Absolutely.
who would have thought Arizona is now presenting bills like AB 2223, where you can murder a child after it's born, and law enforcement can't even ask you anything about it, or you can turn around and sue them for suggesting you murdered your child. It's pure satanic lunacy. And now it's being presented in Arizona as, hey, this is a good thing. Perhaps we should consider this. And it's spreading. That's what this cancer does, that California has become. And this is the last great stand right here, or it's going to just permeate the entire nation. It's just reality. I wish it weren't true. And all these people who have moved, my friends who have moved to Texas and Tennessee and places like this where they think they're safe, like, buddy, you've just bought yourself a little time.
Right.
That's all. Because it's coming your way, because you left this fight here in California and you left the rest of us behind to have to try and you've tripled our workload of trying to fight against this insanity. So what else is on the horizon? Prop 3 we talked about.
Right. Well, then
we got some other stuff.
Yeah, there's another crazy bill that I'm trying to get people to listen to. And this bill, we fought against it last year when it was introduced, and then it kind of died. It died in the Appropriations Committee because it was really expensive, and maybe because it was really crazy. And this was a bill about infertility and about here's what it was. I'm not sure if you know what in vitro fertilization is.
Sure.
But that particular process of it's when you take a human egg and you fertilize it outside of the body in a petri dish, and then you reinsert it inside a human being, right? Sadly, now a lot of folks who are struggling to have kids have used this as a way to have children. I have even some own relatives have used it, but the problem is what they do is they fertilize a bunch of eggs they end up never using. And there are over 1 million, and after you fertilize the egg, you can actually freeze the egg and thaw it later and implant it. So right now there are about 1 million human beings, fertilized eggs, frozen in suspension in fertility clinics with no intention of these human beings ever being implanted anywhere. That's a problem. What we're in, where we're starting to do,
I had no idea.
Yeah. And so what do we believe that when did our existence start? Right. And what do we really, as Christians, what do we believe about that?
Conception.
That's when your existence began. That's when my existence began.
Both those cells are living cells. Both the egg and the sperm are living cells. Now they've come together and they're multiplying.
That is
It
you.
started off as life to begin with, and now it's creating a whole new life. And that's the creator himself designed for life to procreate and continue.
So in our
be
effort
fruitful and fill the earth.
Right. So in our effort to help people have children, we've come up with this way to create life that is really devaluing life. And so here's the thing. Now we have sperm banks and we have egg banks. And currently, did you know that anyone can go to a sperm bank and just get themselves pregnant and have a child without having a male husband or spouse? So a lot of women are simply getting pregnant. They don't want a man, right? Also, there are a lot of men who are hiring women to it's called surrogacy. Surrogacy is very big in California. There's hardly any regulation of it. You can hire a woman to have your biological child, right? You go out and
a lot of homosexual couples are doing that. Homosexual male couples.
That's right. There has been a conference in
so they can
San
have
Francisco
their child.
going on. There's a conference going on for the last 10 years in San Francisco. It's called Men Having Babies Conference. It's a whole conference where all these guys get together and they learn about how to hire a surrogate, where to find the best eggs, who are the doctors to implant them, and they all get their own babies, right, to raise. Okay, so here's what this bill does. This bill was introduced by Carolyn Menjivar, Senator Carolyn Menjivar. She identifies as a lesbian and has a partner. I think I moved my camera. And she is upset that these treatments, in vitro fertilization treatments, are not covered by insurance, and they're very expensive. They're like, it's $30,000 a try, right? And it's not guaranteed.
If it's covered by insurance, and the insurance has to pay out more money than they're bringing in, they raise the rates on everyone else. Why should I have to pay for you to pop out a kid because you don't want to put it in a woman? Ew. What the hell?
Reproductive justice. She's fighting for reproductive justice. And what she is saying is there is something unjust that opposite sex couples get to have babies, but same sex couples can't, right? And that insurance will pay to help a infertile couple have a male and female have a baby, right? But it won't help a same sex couple, and it won't help a single person. So what this bill does is it changes the word infertility. Right? Currently, infertility means you got two opposite sex couples having sex for a year and you're unable to conceive. And so there's something medically wrong with one
Infertile.
of you. Somebody's got a low,
One of you is
low
infertile.
sperm count, or something's wrong with the woman's reproductive system. It's a medical condition.
Right.
But this bill changes that definition. It says, and I'm going to read you the text in case you think I'm crazy. It says, infertility is also a person's inability to reproduce either as an individual or with their partner without medical intervention.
Reproduce as an individual? That's an interesting choice.
Right. So if you can't reproduce as a single man without medical intervention, which single people can't reproduce. Okay, here you are laughing. So you are infertile.
I keep doing self-love and I just don't have a kid coming out of it. I don't know. What's the problem? I need the government to pay for it.
You're infertile. This bill passed. You're all laughing. This bill passed.
This
bill
bill
sitting on the
passed?
governor's desk. It says all single people who aren't having sex are now designated as infertile, and the insurance will have to pay for IVF for the surrogate they hire. So they'll hire a woman to give birth to their child, which will be put together with their sperm and an egg they buy from somewhere.
These selfish bastards. Why don't you just adopt a kid? I don't frankly care who you're in a civil union with.
Well, that's
I do
not
care
just.
that you call it marriage, by the way, because marriage is God breathed. That is something that He gave to us. That is the church. As far as I'm concerned, the government has no part in any of it when it comes to marriage, but that's just me. But you could be adopting a child. There's children begging for their forever homes, just like animals at an SPCA. They're sitting there waiting for somebody like you to come in and adopt them and give them a different and a better, more hopeful life. Even if you're raising them in your sick, twisted, I hate God and God's people, but I'm going to act and pretend like I'm a Christian kind of relationship, at least you're adopting a child. But no, they have to have their own bloodline perpetuated, and they don't want to do it the traditional way that God designed it. So this is insane. You're telling me that passed. How come I didn't see that on the NBC Nightly News with Left to Hope?
Absolutely. Listen, I sent out press releases before it passed, after it passed the assembly, before it passed the Senate. And I was saying, hey, this is radical.
Then that's on me, because if you sent me those emails, I didn't see it, or I fully didn't understand what was going on, because I would have been screaming about this. But you're telling me now it's a done deal. It was.
Well, no, it's on the governor's desk.
It's on his desk right now?
Right now. So he hasn't signed it yet. So,
what's the name of the bill?
SB 729.
Say it again.
SB 729.
Senate Bill 729.
Right, and the reason we didn't have enough time this bill was sitting at the beginning of August when they all came back from their vacation. It was sitting in the Appropriations Committee in the Assembly. It had been there for 1 year because it had died the last year, and they resurrected it. Right. And I was gone that week, and I didn't realize it had happened till the week I came back. So I had 2 weeks to sound the alarm. So I wrote a big story. I put out press releases, and I just think people had forgotten about this bill.
Brother, please, in the future, if anything like this happens again, don't go it alone. Call me, text me, make me aware of it, because I don't always see emails. I get so many.
I know.
And I get so many tags on Facebook, and I get so many people going, oh, you got to pay attention to this. And it just gets overwhelming because it's just me. But let me know. Let me help with that. Don't go that alone. So which walking, talking piece of demonic cat crap wrote this bill?
Well, it was
This sounds like Wiener.
No, it was Senator Carolyn Minjabar. so she did and I have the stories on the website, and they did a press conference. They were very obvious about what they were doing. And she said, "Hey, my partner and I were trying to decide whether we should buy a house or have a baby. And because having a baby was so expensive, we decided to have a house. And no one should ever have to decide between having a house and having a baby. And so that my bill is going to prevent, make it, what you're doing is you're making everybody pay so you can have a biological child. As though you didn't know that was going to happen or be a struggle, when you got together, right? I mean, and the whole idea of justice, what you're really saying is, God, I'm mad at God. I'm mad at God for not allowing me and my wife to have a child while other people get to have, biological children. And I'm going to rectify this injustice that God has put upon same-sex couples and single people. And we got technology now, and we got the power of the government, and we're going to make everybody pay, to make things equal. Right? But what you're doing is you're blowing up the family. Every kid longs to know their mom and their dad. We are creating a society where knowing your mom and dad is not going to be a normal thing anymore. Right. Where kids are born and they just have parents of one sex, and they don't know who the heck they're attached to, whether a male or a female. They're not going to know their mom and their dad. What is that going to do to folks? You think a life's going to be better in California? The kids are going to thrive. You're thumbing your nose at God's good design and thinking you can do it better. God's not fair, and I'm going to do this better than God. Folks, God loves us. He has set up these standards for our good. You thumbed them to your own peril. In California, you're just going to have to experience. It's like, you're going to have to find yourself in a ditch. And once you're in a ditch, maybe you'll repent. But it's sad to see. It's like the drunk. You warn him all your life. You tell him to stay away from the bad stuff, and he just won't. And, it's only when he's next to dead in a gutter that he finally says, what am I doing? Or, kind of like the son that runs away from his father and spends all his father's money.
Prodigal son.
Prodigal son, right? And it's finally when he's eating out of the pig's trough, he goes, what the heck am I doing? So, right. This is what we're at the California Capitol trying to warn people, you're going to end up in the pig's trough. And a lot of them don't seem to care, or they don't believe us, right? So, all right, well, we're going to be here offering the truth right up to the moment you're ready to listen. So,
unfortunately, they're taking the rest of the state down with them.
No, they're right. And how many?
And we're allowing it by not stepping up and not voting for good people and not getting involved. We're allowing it.
Right.
Christians.
This is what salt and light means. We are a preserving agent in society, right? We're holding back evil in its effect on families and kids. When we stay silent, kids are harmed. Our silence hurts people. We don't think it does. We don't see the immediate reaction, but it does. Silence is a killer.
Wow, Greg. Man,
you're on the show every day. You're out there trying to do your best. We're doing it. We got to keep encouraging folks not to give up, not to be despairing. It's to despair is to act as though God is dead, right? And God is not dead, and He is still alive, and He's still eager to work with the church and Christians. And listen, the world's been worse off, so stop moaning and complaining.
And actually do something.
Stop. Come on.
Start by going to California Family. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's the California Family Council, but their website is californiafamily.com.
.org.
you got a .org going. CaliforniaFamily.org. Thank you
Right.
so much. And they are a nonprofit. Help them, support them, follow them. So we got to know about these things that are going on. And what you find out through guys like Greg and the California Family Council, spread the word around, because the media is not doing it. Share it on your page. I have so many friends who do that, and thank God for them. Kasha comes to mind, and Sharina, and there's some great people who are out there going, this is happening. Please look. And everybody's like, la 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 la. I don't know what to do other than just keep blowing the horn.
Yeah.
Just keep
Doing it.
Just keep blowing the horns of Jericho until those walls come down, those strongholds come down. Thank you so much, my friend. And great having you on again. And I want to see that video that you were talking about. So I think we need to have you on again next week. What do you think?
Sure.
I want to see that video of Asali. Is that his name?
Bill Asaley, yeah.
Yeah, going off and pounding the desk and all. I want to see all that. All right.
All right. I'll send you the video.
Okay, brother. There you go. That's Greg Burt, and wish him happy birthday on the 17th next week when you go to the CaliforniaFamily.org. I'm Charlie Simons. You can help this show out. Venmo.com/do not talk. Venmo.com/do not talk. A lot of expenses doing this kind of stuff, and right now it's all just well, that's not true. There's been some great people who have helped and have stepped up and have given and contributed, and I just value them so much, and I thank the Lord for them. And if you want to be one of them helping, please do. Venmo.com/do not talk. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America, and most